Okay, so I'm back in it. I said, if you guys caught the first stream, I said I was going to get back in here and I was going to talk about the Wheel of Time, and specifically talking about Randall, right? Because he's clearly the guy, and this is kind of where we are in the series. So I put together some information. I really wanted to understand like what this guy was all about, like what really made the story work, and what I really liked about the story. So I think obviously the first part is kind of understanding the entire environment, and I've got a good sense of the world. I kind of talked about that Westland, where this is all going down, and then specifically getting into who Randall actually is and why him of all these people. And so just a little backstory. I'm doing the series, but I'm also doing the books, right? Because I understand like there's going to be stuff that gets left off. So I started doing the books a couple of weeks ago. I just got into season 3. I just actually went back and watched season 2. So I'm getting to season 3 now. And so obviously with Randall being who he is structurally in the story, he's my impetus right now. Like we'll talk about Morin later, and we'll talk about some of the other characters alike. But I wanted to give this character a little bit of time, a little bit of life, right? And what we see with this guy is he's kind of different than every other kind of chosen aspect hero. Or maybe he's the same. Here's the thing. He starts off feeling like you're just a normal person, which they all do. This is kind of what Neo thought. Right? This was a shepherd. This was a village guy. This is someone whose future was supposed to be pretty predictable at this time, at this stage in the life. He knew who he wanted to be. And then all this stuff gets taken away from you. And he did not get chosen because he wanted or desired the greatness, right? It was more of this pattern of things that have to happen that brought his life to this point. A bunch of stuff, right? I mean, this is some pattern that's going on. He is the reincarnation of Luz Theron Talamon, who was the dragon of the Age of Legends. And he was born to a world that remembers the dragon not as a savior, but as a destroyer. And I'm going to talk about him before I wrap this up today, because this is a big part. We can't understand Rand without understanding this. So everybody has their perceptions already of the dragon, the previous dragon. And it's jacked up what he did. Not because he was a villain, but because he made a bad decision. Or he got played by the dark side. You literally did. Like, you handed up, you served him some cards, and the dark side came back. But so Randall, he grows up knowing these stories. Like, you're not really inheriting any glory. All you can inherit is the fears. Because you're going to go crazy. And we'll explain why they go crazy. So from this moment, his identity gets revealed. His life becomes this much narrower corridor. It's not the same. So every choice that he makes, you're closing other doors. This responsibility, this power, it isolates him because he's the only person who understands this. Nobody else understands even what's going on. So what he channels is the Satan, the male half of the One Force. Now, the interesting thing about the male half of this force is that it kind of demands domination. It isn't the soft part. The male part is 100% aggressive. So every single time he touches and reaches deep down to get this power, he risks going crazy, right? He risks actual madness. That's what happened with Luke, the predecessor, right? He went crazy. And it's not instantly, it's not even dramatic. It is this very slow erosion over time. And of course, when you're going through madness, you never realize, wow, I'm going through madness right now. It never happens that easily, right? And he understands this. So this power dynamic, it hardens him. Love becomes, remember, he starts off, he's very much in love. He's a sucker for love, as some would say. But he understands that he can't care about things because the Dark One will leverage it. Even his own, like the original, his predecessor, because he is the reincarnation of this guy, of Luz. So he gets his thoughts, so he understands how he felt intimately in ways that no one else can really even understand. So so the most effective route he can take is to not be close to people. That's really all he can do. And he's doing it for your protection. Everyone else, this is all for your protection. It's not for my protection, because I'm going to be all right. But what he lives in fear of is hurting someone else. And we can kind of understand that. I'm just trying to get my stream on so I can monitor my YouTube part of it. So we understand that he has to take this role, because if he doesn't, lots of people are going to get hurt, and it ain't never going to be him. It's always going to be someone else. So this is kind of where he has to really start, and obviously has this girl that he's in love with, and so that makes a problem, and he starts to increasingly move away. Now imagine this, because it's a weird thing with his predecessor, him being the reincarnation of Lews Therin. This guy is inside of his mind all the time. So it's not just purely madness in that sense, right? Like literally, it's a voice inside your head. I mean, so this is bringing out emotions, right? It's also the memory of what goes along with what he did. So not only am I like, I killed all my family and I get reincarnated, I remember, right? So it's a level of cruelty that goes on top of everything else, right? Not only do I have to say, man, if I mess this up, I will break the world again. And this world you could see is in ruins. So it has not even been recovered from the initial break. This is a mess. This place is a mess. And then you've got that pressure, and then your nutty old self inside your head saying all kinds of crazy stuff, right? Sometimes it's a warning, sometimes it's sabotage. So I don't know whether to listen to his voice or not. Sometimes it tells him that he's going to tell you things that you're not ready for, knowing it. So it becomes this real conflict. It is not simply for him light versus a shadow like everyone else. It's constantly having to wonder whether you're going to be the villain, whether you're going to manifest what everyone said. Like, again, maybe you're even a power that should not exist. But he's dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. He is not trying to win. He's trying to endure without losing his own soul. So in a lot of ways, he is really not your traditional hero in that sense. Not at all. And I'm going to assume that because of the way the story's written, that, yeah, he's going to come out of this on top. Right? I'm just assuming that because we understand story structure. But I don't know. He doesn't necessarily seem like, to me, the person who can really handle the villain, who is the Dark One. And the Dark One already speaks, man. The Dark One does not hide. He's got his agents. See, this is always the imbalance. Why are the bad guys always more prepared? Why are they always, trying to put it together in the ways that the heroes never are? The heroes are never ready. It's always some kid who doesn't fully understand his mission. He's got all this emotional stuff attached to him. And now I got to go fight against the baddest guy on the planet, right? It's like taking Michael Jordan on in his prime and you're not emotionally ready for it. You will lose. So this is all of his mindset as he's coming through this. Again, like, you grew up small town, but this is a classic story. Classic story, the small town boy, all of a sudden forced to do all these far more significant things. This is far more significant than anything his life had ever prepped him for. And this is one thing I think about storytelling that kind of needs to address that is, that's not how you win. You win by being prepped, by being ready. So this persistence on kind of taking these characters and dragging them out and forcing them. This guy didn't even know how to use a sword properly at this point, right? So he doesn't look in a lot of ways to be the hero that I think that this would need. But he's chosen, I don't even know how he felt about it. It doesn't seem like there's ever been a moment. I know if I was like prophesized to be the one, the chosen one, and then it turned out to be me. I got 4 other homies and we're all like, yeah, it could be you, could be you. And it was me. Man, I'm kind of feeling good about that. I don't know if he even gets that sensation out of, what he's had to endure or how this process goes down, knowing that the mistake again could break the world. And we're going to talk about like just what that actually means. So to do that, we kind of need to understand the one force, the Seiden, right? Now, it itself is not evil. It's a force. It's a natural force that exists within this world. And it allows you to kind of do almost anything. This is their magic integration, kind of beautifully done. So this force itself doesn't have intent, but clearly it can be wielded. It can be coerced. It can be even forced. Like that was his role. Like the males were more about taking that force and holding it down. You're going to do what I want you to do with this. So it's the male half of this force, right? And it's active. It is the aggressive aspect of the true power. So it requires the other side. Dar requires surrender and having balance, right? Saidin requires you have to control this. It's the difference that they break apart along the gender lines that I'm not necessarily crazy about, but it's the story, so we're gonna stay consistent to it. And to channel it is not to kind of flow with the power. That's not what the guys are taught. They're not taught, hey, talk to the force, be sweet to it, coerce it. That's not what they say. They're like, you seize it, you dominate it, you force it into shape. So it becomes faster. It becomes more purely destructive. It is far more destructive, the male aspect, which is why initially they go out to fight the Dark One, right? But we'll get to that later. And their margin for error is like minimal, right? Because there is no room for error. It's less forgiving in almost every aspect when you compare the male part to what the females actually were. So this is how the state, it was already an imbalance within this system, right? So we totally get that. Now at its peak, this Seiden enables the most powerful feats ever achieved by humans. Through this, entire landscapes have been reshaped. Wars are ended in moments when someone who understands how to wield this power. So it is absolute power that kind of requires no restraint. It requires all the bad stuff in order to shape it. This is kind of where this is really coming from. And we see it right off the bat. So with them, it changes. You can end a war right now. Civilizations can be built or destroyed with the same ease as someone who controls the male component of it. And it doesn't care about your intent. The force itself, ironically, never seems to care about what it is that you're actually going to do with it. It doesn't care. All it cares about is the execution. And that way is kind of similar to what we see with George Lucas's, his version of the Force, right? Not the association along gender lines, but clearly in ways that it's manifested. Whereas the Sith are more like, yeah, we got to take this, shape it, beat you in the line. Where the Jedi are more like, we got to flow, you got to feel it has to be a part of you. So we see that split that happens about this. So this is where how the Force really operates. Now, before the breaking of the world, the male and the females worked together. They were balancing these two sides of the Force. Now, that balance ended because of the Dark One. He counterattacked during this sealing of the border, which is his portal by which he was coming through, right? And we're going to talk about that as well. So what he does in Revenge, which is brilliant, this guy needs to be revered as a world-class villain, right? A world-class mastermind in what he's able to do, because he does it very succinctly and it has a long-term effect. He contaminates the Seiden. He contaminates the Force that was designed to stop him specifically. Because the other Force, I don't know why, is going to struggle. Although the women, casters, channelers, all seem to be very powerful. So I got to see what this dark Force is really able to, the Dark One. So when he goes about contaminating this Force, this is kind of a residual metaphysical poison. And it clings to the male half. So every time a man channels, he exposes himself to this level of corruption. It's like you're using a computer with malware on it. You're just trying to not click the files that are going to set everything off, right? And so cumulatively over time, the more that a male uses it, the more likely he is going to be absolutely corrupted by it. That's the truth. I mean, like, it's slow, and you start to, subtly notice things that are different. So it doesn't begin with you being mad. It doesn't start off that way. It may start off where you're feeling more in control of yourself than ever before. And then this force starts to do insidious things to you. It's whispering voices to you. You start to question yourself. You start to question your alliances and the people around you. It starts to distort what you're seeing in front of yourself. This is paranoia. This is obsession. This is pleasure seeking in a lot of ways. And we see Rand start to manifest slowly. He's changing. Like, we are watching, if you're in the season there, we're watching him change already and start to manifest things that were outside of his personality before. Again, sucker for love, more committed type of guy. We saw that, right? But this is what they're up against. Your emotions start to flatten out. Certainty starts to change. That only I can see clearly is something that a mantra we start to hear from people who are deluded this way. Power was accelerated decay in this form. It creates a feedback loop where strength increases your exposure and exposure increases your instability. So ironically, it's all the strongest male channelers that fell first because they were massive more amounts of energy or force that they were using to make this happen. This isn't because they were arrogant. This is not personal failings on their part. And typically we hear corruption like this. That's what we think. This wasn't the case here. This is because they were efficient, because they were too good at wielding it, and that's what the Dark One built into the system. So a staggering blow to lose half your force to be able to fight. And the whole civilization collapses after that. Now, Satan does require that you have control. So for them, emotional detachment always feels like a higher sense of clarity. So right off the bat, just utilizing the power, even in a good function, even in an absolutely positive light, it requires that you have this level of emotional detachment, and it feels like clarity. It encourages isolation. It reinforces the belief that you're carrying this responsibility by yourself. So madness is not the only side effect of this belief system or this mode of channeling, but it is the final one. This is usually the step where you've crossed over too many lines. You've started to run off enemies. You've probably done some things already that are problematic, and this is what happens. This is by nature. So even after it's cleansed, after it's purged, the nature of it doesn't change. It still remains that. The poison is removed, but the danger remains. This is a force that has no empathy. This is power without guardrails. And if I had to kind of put it into terms, it is far less of a sword and far more of a nuclear reactor, right? And we get that. You can easily draw power from this. It creates massive powers, but don't let it get out of control. Because the moment that it gets out of control, you have 3 Mile Island now, right? This is what you have. So this is how they have to approach even using the force. So we see him kind of riding this fine line. You have to do this, but it could go bad. Not only you have to do this and it could go bad, it probably goes bad for you no matter what. Whether we win, whether we lose, you're probably not going to walk out of this being okay. Because that rarely happens. That so rarely happens. So the other place, so we kind of know the who and the why, like there's motivations. Let's talk about like some of the where. Let's get into some of the locations. Now, you can see up there, I have that image. You can see the White Tower, but in the back of that, you see Dragon Mount. And this is not a mountain in the traditional sense. This is not a natural mountain that, was shaped by environment, that happened over time. It is not that. It is specifically not that. It's not a mountain in the traditional sense. What it really represents is a fracturing event. A fracturing event that never got to be healed. I think that's the best kind of way to expose it. Now, this was created obviously at the end of the Age of Legends during the Breaking of the World. And this is when Luz had realized the horror that he had done. You know, I remember talking to you guys about like the madness. This is kind of where it starts. Because once the One Force got tainted, of course, it tainted him and everyone who else were using this ability. And it drives him to the point that he literally slaughters his own family using the One Power. You came home, you're having a bad day, you didn't just pop a beer, you just wrecked everybody's life instantly. Now, the cold-blooded part about it is that the Dark One brings his clarity back. He gives him clarity to understand what he just did. And it worked. Like, this is, like, it's not a lot of guys that could take, like, yeah, I murdered my wife and all my kids and be all right after that. So he was not all right after that. And what we see from, Dragonmount is the consequence of that, right? This is him lashing out because he drew more power than any human ever should. And this land collapsed inward and upward. The world literally around it buckles. This was not a mountain prior to this event. This is just level land. I don't even think it was volcanic. So there's no construction with all this. This is trauma being displayed on a geological level. This is a geological traumatic event that goes down because of how upset this guy was. Now, where it stands is near Tar Valon. But it's not a place of reverence. That is not what it is. Initially, I thought that way, but I kind of understand, no, it's not. This is a very unstable place. This is volcanic. It is uninhabitable. It's like mountain, it's like Mordor. Like, this is a very bad place. And it looms over civilization as a reminder of this is what happens when power is unchecked. And now, thousands of years later, let's run that remix on it. Let's do that. It was so terrible that we all want to live through this again. And that's what they're doing. Live and direct, they're getting ready to relive this all again. But why this place is important both in the story as a center point, and this is where Rand was actually born. In this very, very epic scene, I think it's season 2, maybe season 1, you see his mother. And they were at war at the time. They were at war at the time. He's literally in womb. And this lady is scrapping. I mean, she was nice with it. She had all the skills. She must have killed, no less than like 6 guys. 6 fully armed guys. Also that she could mother her child. For however, much time they had together. She did what she had to do to make sure her son got here. And she did it. Right? She did it. And, all blessings to her. Because it wouldn't have happened when it was me. Like, you're fighting, you're going through labor pains and one-handedly fighting and killing grown-ass men. Several of them. 5 or 6 people that she ultimately shanks up on. But why this happens is, again, he's born there. This is a place where it all went down. So the pattern is the exact location of the previous dragon's final act. So this is not by chance. This is by design. This is what fate would have said done. So a lot of the males feel it differently. Not as a call, but as a pull. Talking about this Sumerian is a gravity that cannot be explained. And for Rand, Dragonmount feels familiar. And it should. You got all this stuff running around your noodle. You got a crazy man's memories running through your noodle right now. So it all feels shockingly normal for him. This Dragon Mountain does not host frequent events. If something happens there, it matters. So his birth there significantly matters. It's not a sacred mountain. This is a mountain with some unfinished business. That's what it really represents, in a lot of ways. So then that brings us to Lews Therin Talamon, the original failure, the original OG of messing everything up, the reason for the season, right? And at the time, this guy had grown up in very much a perfect world. The Age of Legends sounds like it was really off the hook. It was a great place to be. They had no hunger. They had no wars. You had no meaningful debt. Like, people were happy and living and thriving. And the one power could literally solve like any problem that humanity faced. The Aes Sedais were stewards. They were not rulers. Their power existed without consequence. And then this portal was opened. And the Dark One starts to spread his influence. He starts marketing his whole entire plan. And he spreads it. And Lewis becomes something that the world had never needed before. And that would be a general. And he would be like among the first. This was a peaceful place. He is now a leader of war, which is something he, was not prepared for. This is a man who now has to make faster decisions with very little reflection allowed. So while the final choice comes, he's very decisive over being inconsistent. He led a strike using only male channelers to seal the board. Now, tactically, smart thing to do. Tactically, it worked. Tactically, I'm going to give you kudos. But strategically, what you did in that moment was actually doom the entire world. This was the Dark One's masterful counterstroke that tainted the Satan. Every male channeler was thus condemned in that moment, and civilization began to collapse. This was very slowly. This was over generations. And then the madness takes a hold of Lewis Theron. He kills his wife and his child. But the Dark One is such a douche that you literally bring him clarity so he remembers everything that happened. Every moment of slaughtering his own family, he's going to remember. He does not forget. And his despair drives more power than any human should ever have. And he ended his own life. The land around him was shaped by his guilt, and Dragon Mount was reborn. Now, Luz was not a villain, not in the traditional sense. Is he a poor decision maker? Yes. But he's not truly a villain. He had all the right intentions as he was going through all this, right? So now we know that we have the same person reincarnated. Now he's back. This is not a possession. This is not he was a person and another person possessed him. He returns as a memory. He was destined to return. He's the one that won the war, lose, and Rand has to figure out how to win the war without, making all the mistakes that this guy made. That's what the real problem is. So this is the burden of being the Dragon Reborn. This is not designed to be an easy light, an easy run, and you can tell like the expectations are through the roof on this one. So overall, great story. Like, I wanted to really kind of get in understanding this character and do a nice little breakdown on it. And I'm going to break out some of the other characters as well. And I'll be back tomorrow. And I'm not sure who I'll go into. Maybe I'll go into Perrin tomorrow. He might be a good fit, but don't hold me to that. But I'm gonna skip and skate right now. Just wanted to get this in. Guys, come out and check out the channel. I'm gonna drop the links. And obviously there's a dossier I'll put together on exactly, this piece here, so you can go back and reference what I talked about. But as always, love, peace, and hair grease. Definitely stop in if you're into enjoying more mythology. I hope this was useful on your little lunchtime break. If you got to stop in and talk about a show that hopefully you're watching. But I'm always here, looking forward to interacting with you, and I'll see you until the next time. I'm gonna log off on TikTok because that's not the real audience. YouTube, you guys are the real audience. They're just I just add them on. So I kick them off first so I give a night. Oh man, they're trying to stay on too. Hope they didn't hear me say any of that stuff. Yes, and now, right? So now I'm back. Now I can say, now I'm back with my real friends, right? The YouTube audience, right? And we're into it deep, doing the book and doing the series. If you have some questions or thoughts you want to add, drop them in the comment section, and we'll talk about it next time.